Hello, and welcome back to another episode. I needed a break from that ocean monument. It's coming along. It's been a lot of hours working on it though. So, figured it'd be a good thing to come back to the base and build something I've wanted to build for a while, which is the farmer's market. So, I think I have everything I need. I'm going to use some observers, some pistons. I'm going to do a hopper minecart on rail pickup system. We're going to need some glowstone for lighting, a little bit of slabs, some dirt. Yeah, and this is all of our hopper minecarts. And we're going to use a beacon because we're going to have to dig out a big section. And we're actually going to be farming 4 crops in this farm for our farmer's market. We're going to do potatoes, we're going to do carrots, we're going to do pumpkins, and we're going to do melons. And I think we're going to do kind of like a market stalls inside of the building itself. So that's what some of this stuff is for. And we're going to build a lot of the actual building, the farmer's market itself, out of glass. And I think some iron. And we're going to throw end rods around, I think, as well. So I think that'll look pretty cool. So let's go take a look at where I want to actually build this. So the spot I have picked out is these magenta blocks over here on this side of the librarian's tower. And I think I want this side to be the front. So this is going to be just kind of a big building right here. And in order to fit all of the farms in that I want, I think we're going to have to sink them down into the ground a little ways. So that's why I brought my beacon with me. So I'm going to dig out this whole section here. And it's actually not going to be that deep. So I think I want this to be the ground level, and then I'm going to go six blocks deep inside of this area here. And that should give me all of the room that I need. So the hole is all dug out. Turned out to be a much smaller hole than I was expecting. And we only ended up going down 7 blocks. I think that will be enough room. And the building itself will actually be kind of a lot bigger than any of our other buildings. So, I don't know. I think that'll work out. But let's double check to make sure that we are deep enough. So we're going to have a block here. This is going to be the ground level of the farm. So that's where we're going to put our farmland. Then we have 2 blocks above it for the villager to run around and do everything that they need to do. And then we're going to have a ceiling on there, which is also going to serve as the floor for the second layer. And then the block up there for the ceiling, which is also going to double as the floor for the farmer's market up above. So I think we are deep enough. So I'm going to remove these blocks, and I'm actually going to start building the outline here, 1 block in from the sides. So now I'm going to take my dirt. I'm going to count 4 blocks in. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to skip a block, and I'm going to continue again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then another smooth stone. So this should be 1 quadrant of the farm that I want to build today. Now we're going to do a carrot, potato, melon, and pumpkin farms. So I think I want to do carrots and potatoes on this side and melon and pumpkins on this side, which means this needs to be smooth stone all the way along. So this side is going to be melons and pumpkins, which means this bottom layer here that I'm standing on, we're actually going to run rails on top of that. So, we'll come back to that. I'm going to leave, I think it's going to end up being a 3 block gap, but to make sure that we're going to build this right, I'm going to come over here to the corner, and we're going to do 4 blocks again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Leave a block in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this should be 1 quadrant for the farm. So this is going to be for potatoes, let's say. And then I'm going to leave a walkway here, place another block down here. And then if I did this right, I should go right up to the corner, one block in from both sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, block the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm exactly where I want to be. All right, so now we have kind of our area figured out for the carrot and the potato farms. I'm going to turn this into a full rectangle here. And I'm going to fill it in all the way on the inside too with dirt. And I'm going to leave this block here in the center empty. So the center is going to look something like this for now. Before I go in much farther, I should say that the carrot and the potato design that I'm doing today, I found on Logical Geek Boy's channel. So I'll try to leave a link to his channel in the description down below. He comes out with some really cool tutorials, and I've found a lot more stuff on there than I may have given him credit for. So go give him a look. He's really good. So yeah. Now the next thing I want to do for the carrot and potato farm is to actually encircle the entire first layer above the farm in glass. We're going to do much of the second layer in glass as well, with a few exceptions. Alright, the first layer has been covered in glass now. Now I'm going to take some glowstone, and I'm going to place it on the three sides here, in line with the hole in the center. And the side that I'm not going to put a piece of glowstone on is this side here, between the two farms. And I'm actually going to knock out these two pieces of glass. And I'm going to put a piece of smooth stone connecting the two. So I'm going to put glowstone here, and then I'm going to fill in everywhere else with glass. Okay, both sides are getting pretty close here. I have glowstone on, I have the glass walls in. Now I'm going to start on the second layer, and I'm going to put my building block up along the outline, so right where all of the glass is. And then on the inside, I'm going to fill it in with dirt, exactly matching the layer below. So let me get going on that. And I will also put in glass for the second layer. The only difference is I will not be putting glowstone in the middle of the wall like I did on the first layer. I will end up putting it in on the ceiling, which will also serve as the floor for our farmer's market up above. I now have the second layer built, and it's an exact same copy as the first, just without the glowstone in the corners, as we will be putting it in the ceiling slash floor of the farmer's market. So now what we want to do is we want to walk in here to any of the quadrants, any of the sections, and we're going to put down a half slab here in the middle. And then we're going to grab a water bucket, and we're going to put the water bucket on top of the slab. So the water and the slab are occupying the same block. And then we're going to take a composter, and we're going to put that directly on top. And then we're going to take a piece of glowstone and put it on top of the composter. And the reason why we want to put the glowstone on top is so that the farmer doesn't want to try to jump on top of the composter, ruining all of the farmland. And it'll also provide enough light around here as well. Next thing we're going to want to do is break out this block. And then we are also going to break out the block below that and one over as well. This is where our chests are going to go. So I'm actually going to try to do something a little... I'm going to put that back for a second. I want to get on this side so I can place a chest. Oops. I want my chest to be a double chest. And then now we can put a hopper face down into that chest. And then now if we come over here, we can break out a few blocks. And we can access the chest here. Well, actually, we won't be able to access it because of this block. But if we remove this, now we can access the chest. So, I'm going to put the floor back here. So now we can still access it, and everything should be good to go. Now, we are going to take a piece of rail, And we're going to put it down here on top of the hopper. And then we're going to put a mine cart with hopper on top. Next, we're going to remove this rail underneath, and it's going to sink down like that. Then we're going to get up on top of our topmost layer. All right, I am now on the second layer looking at the first minecart with hopper. I put in a little bit of a kind of a safety catch here. So if I put down a piece of track or piece of rail and then put a minecart with hopper and then push it in, it should fall directly on top of that first minecart with hopper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a hopper and we're going to place it on the floor level here, facing down, so that if an item gets dropped in the hopper, it should end up in the chest. So if we put a piece of stone in here, it gets picked up, and it's not in this hopper anymore. So it should have made its way down to the chest. So now we're going to take another piece of rail and we're going to repeat this whole setup here once more. So rail down on top of there, minecart on top of the rail, remove the rail, then we're going to get up on top and we're going to put another minecart on top of this rail here and then push it in, and then there it gets stacked on top of the first minecart. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a trapdoor and we're going to put it on top here. This is to prevent the villager from running into this and moving the minecarts all over the place. So now that's kind of one section of our farm done, and we will need to slab, waterlog, composter, and glowstone on the second layer as well. So that should be one 2-layer farm done, and I will repeat everything that I just did here on the other side there. The carrot and potato farms are now done, with the exception of getting a villager into each of the 4 quadrants, and then also a separate villager for both the top and the bottom row. Alright, so I think it's time to move on to the pumpkin and melon farm. The first indication of the important part of this farm was by a guy named Mizuma Games. I will try to leave a link to his channel in the description down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up a platform here similar to the platform that the melon and pumpkin farm is on. And then we're going to run tracks over top with the idea that that will pick up all of the drops from the melon and the pumpkins. So let me fill in. I've already kind of started the area here, so let me fill in, and I'm actually going to fill in this entire area from that corner over to about this corner over here. All right, so we need to now decide what side we want to be pumpkins and what side we want to be melons. So this is gonna be carrots, that's gonna be potatoes. So let's make that pumpkins and this melons. So the difference is in actually the collection system down below. So I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to put a chest here, and then I'm going to put a hopper facing into that and a hopper facing into this hopper here. Now we need to do a comparator that pulls the information from the hopper, and that's going into a red block, which is going to have a torch on the back, which is going into another block that's going to have a repeater pulling the signal out. That's going into another block. And this whole setup here is essentially our minecart unloader. And the reason why we can't just put the chest here is because we need a solid block right here, and it has to be a solid block. I can't use like a stair or something like that so I can still open the chest. It has to be a solid block. So then if we put down a powered rail here, you see how this gets lit up and it's powered. So then if we put an item into that hopper, you see how it gets unpowered there for a second? And if we look in here, now we have 3 smooth stone. So if we take our rail here and we run this rail, let's say back here a ways. So if we put this minecart with hopper, and it's going to be running underneath all of the dirt where all of the melons and pumpkins are going to be picked up. So it's going to be filling with items. And then when we push it to where the minecart unloader is, it's going to stop. It's going to unload all of the items in here. And when it's done, so let's just speed this up a little bit here. When it's done, it'll automatically get kicked off and be run all the way back through the rail line here. So since we want this to be melons, so every time you break a melon, you get 3 to 7 melon slices, and versus when you break a pumpkin, you just get the pumpkin. So I think the best way to handle that is to actually have 2 minecart running underneath the melon farm, but only have 1 running underneath the pumpkin farm. I think that'll keep up with the production of these farms, and if not, we can always readdress it and maybe even add in another couple of minecart with minecarts in the system, and we'll probably have to add in a couple more unloader systems as well. So I'm going to build the rest of the track, I think. Now we want the outside, we want to encase this entire farm. So I'm going to run a smooth stone barrier all the way around. And then we're going to loop our rail line in here. This is how I ended up running the rail lines here. So this far side is the pumpkin, and so there's only 1 unloader, and so it'll run underneath the entire farm, hit the powered rail at the back, and because there's a solid block right next to it, it'll just bounce and it'll make its way all the way back through the farm. And then once it hits the unloader, it'll start unloading everything, and then when it's empty, it'll get sent back through and start doing it all over again. And then here, I put the bounce back section here in the middle. So the cart from this side will run along this half, and the cart from this unloader will run along this other half. So now I just need to put the minecarts in here and send them on their merry way. And everything should be golden. All right, now that I have my minecarts running, I think it's time to build up the next layer, which is going to be the actual dirt that the melons and the pumpkins are going to be growing on. So I think first off, I want to do just the outline around it. So I'm going to do this again in smooth stone. And then in the inside here, that's where our dirt is going to go. And it looks like I need to go and grab some more. All right, so I have the dirt in, and I'm ready to move on to the next section. Now I should put a slab and a water bucket in the middle like I have for the carrot and potato farms, and I should do this on both sides. So water, I guess I grabbed too many buckets of water. Now the next thing I want to do is actually do a 2-high wall of glass all the way around. The first row here is going to be where our melons and pumpkins are growing. And the layer above it is going to be a combination of observers and pistons. So I think that'll look pretty cool too. The glass is now in. Now I'm going to line the top layer here, right where the glass is, in my chosen building block. And then I'm going to fill in this section above where the dirt is with a temporary block, which I think I'm going to use dirt for the moment because it'll be easy to remove, and I won't remove my outside building block while I do it. Alright, my temporary roof is now on. And so the reason why I needed to do that is I need to take my pistons and I need to stick them onto the roof so that they're facing straight down. Now that is not the way that I wanted it to, so I'm going to go into see if I can go into a crawl here. Let's see if I can do this. Nice. Alright. So I'm in a crawl now, so I'm going to place pistons in a kind of a checkerboard pattern. So now that I have a way to stay crouching or crawling, I can now put this piston back in. And I'm going to do this checkerboard pattern for this entire area under here. And hopefully I can do this without losing my crawl. All of the pistons are now in for the pumpkin and melon farms. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand on one of the pistons and I'm going to turn the dirt on the air blocks here into pumpkins. And then I'm going to take my observers and I'm going to face them down looking at the seed itself. Just like that. And so now what should happen is when that pumpkin seed grows up, this piston will fire and then we'll end up having to put down a piece of redstone dust here, and it needs to be in this cross shape, and that will fire all 4 of these pistons. And then no matter what block of dirt the pumpkin grows onto, that pumpkin has a piston above it, and it'll be able to push it down and break it and let the hopper minecart underneath pick it up. So I'm going to do this for the rest of this field and the melon field itself. Our pumpkin and melon farm is very nearly done now. There's a couple more things I want to do. First off, I want to go into the middle here and drop a couple pieces of glowstone down. That will help keep the light level up in the actual growing area down below. Additionally, I think, yes. I think I also want to put a piece of glowstone on the same level that the plants are growing on all 4 sides, and I'll probably just do it like this so it's in line with the central glowstone there. So for the roof, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to go 1 more block up, and then I'm going to do kind of a pattern with the glowstone to make sure that there's enough light. And I'm kind of overdoing it as far as the light goes, but I think it looks cool, and so I'm okay with going overboard as far as the lighting goes. So this is the pattern that I've chosen to go with is a piece of glowstone here in the corner of the farm, and then 3 blocks in between each piece of glowstone. It might get a little bit funny here in the middle. I might have to put 1 directly down the middle with only 2 blocks on either side, but I think it'll work out. The roof of the pumpkin and melon farm is in, and we have no drops so far because I think that might be one of the first pumpkin plants that's nearly. Ooh, this one might be fully grown. So they're getting close to being able to produce pumpkins and melons. But I think it's time we put our villagers into here. So I have ran a rail line all the way to our villager breeder, which is actually pretty close to here. So I think the plan is we're going to bring in 3 villagers, and that will be for the bottom layer of the carrot farm, the bottom layer of the potato farm, and then the villager that's going to be here in the middle. Our last villager is in place. So we've got our potato guy, we've got our carrot guy, and they both try to give this guy food. So now, I think both of our farms are done. Now we just need to put a ceiling on it. floor is all put in. I did have to put in an extra layer of blocks around the outside. So now I think we can move on to the actual farmer's market building itself. I will have to do some terraforming here around the backside to make this not look like a super drop off. But we'll see. I'll probably end up just pushing it back kind of a handful of blocks, and I might just stop there. We'll see. We'll see if I actually come back in and do some more terraforming. I will probably run around with bone meal later and add in some more of the grass and the flowers. I do want to run back through with the torches though and make sure that I add back in all of that lighting. So that's going to have to happen on the outside. But I can actually get going on the building itself without having to worry about that first. So I think that's what I want to do. Now the idea I have for this building is to make it look kind of like a greenhouse. And I want the vast majority of it to be built out of glass. And I want to build it with iron because I think it'll give that kind of, I don't know, industrial beam support type of look. So we'll see. We'll see how well this ends up. So let me get a start on that. Okay, I finished up the center dome, and it ended up a little bit shorter than I guess I had envisioned, but I think it'll be all right. I added this kind of archway here for the entrance, along with a bit of a glass tube kind of coming out. We'll end up terraforming out this area, probably add a path. Well, there's a path here, so I'll probably just continue that along here and connect up the farmer's market to it. I did bring myself a door and a stone button, so I can put the door here, button there. Right. Glass doesn't relay a signal. Might have to get a little creative with that. But I already installed a pressure plate in here so I can leave. And the only other real things that I did was I put these trapdoors around the center tower, the center support. And if I flip this one up, I have a ladder in here so I can go down in here and take a look at the farms. So, speaking of which, how much have we have so far? We have a fair amount of potatoes already, a fair amount of carrots already. Pumpkins, about 5 stacks, melons. It's a fair amount, but I think melons take 4. Oh. Might be 9 melons to make or 9 melon slices to make a full melon. So, yikes. Despite having a lot of melons, we don't actually have that many actual melons. Despite having a lot of melon slices, we don't actually have that many melons. That's what I was trying to say. All right, I think the farmer's market is pretty much done and good to go. So, I added this nice little archway in the front and a door and a way to get in. I added a couple of bushes on both sides and pulled the path along here as well. Now, I used the new moss block here because there is some exposed redstone right in there. So I figured it'd be a nice kind of way to hide it and make it look pretty good too. So we can go in by pushing the button on the outside. And then on the inside here, I decided to go with a different type of tree along the supporting beams. And then we have our farmers over here, and I went ahead and pushed all of them all the way up to master, so we can get the golden carrots, and we can sell off all of our items that we just made farms for. And then if we go over here, we'll be able to open up this trap door and go down this ladder, and we're down in the actual farm itself. So, I've already pulled a lot of the items out, but we still have quite a lot of items in there already. from after where I pulled it all out. So, that is the build. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.